Okay, I had already read, onto from chapter 2 onto like chapter 4, which isn't a whole lot. I talked more than I read. Um, and then realized I wasn't holding the microphone the entire time. Well, I'm gonna edit that out, or will I? I don't know. Fun times. So, anyways, hello, I am Tolg. This channel I created out of desperation, probably like most channels. I don't presume anybody's going to watch this for a while, and maybe when I do pick up pace, someone somewhere along the way will go back and dig this up, but the assumption is that it won't be, sponsored, so I don't have to worry about cussing. At which point, I should warn you, I cuss. I don't know when I do it though. If that offends you, you don't have to watch, because I will not be editing it out at this point. Maybe in the future, if I get gas in this tank. But right now, I could give a shit. So I am reading from Marguerite Porete, The Mirror of Simple Souls, and I had already done one video about the prologue. Essentially, the prologue says, "We suck and will not be able to understand this if we utilize wisdom and reason because we suck." So, from there... Oh, and it also separates out the author from the soul and love as separate entities, which I guess hold the pen at different points and have written this between themselves. So kind of like multiple personality disorder or dissociative identity disorder. Now, Marguerite Porete was burned at the stake for heresy, for writing this, essentially, and preaching it. I skipped over reading the preface, and the preface made me really angry, so I had assumed the whole book would make me angry, and I'm reading this as I am reading it to you, essentially. And I'm ranting live, except for, the recording that I didn't put up where I wasn't talking into the microphone, at which point I did a complete rant, several of them, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to redo those. So there's that. Chapter 2 of The Work of Love and Why She Has This Book Made. That was something else that I should have pointed out. I think it's written from first person, and therein all of the love and the soul and the author, they're all gendered feminine. I don't know if that's her saying that love and soul are essentially feminine in and of themselves, but I'm assuming that it just has more to do with her being feminine. So we're gonna go with that. And I hurt my wrist earlier. So this is written from love. As for you little ones of Holy Church, which is capitalized, I did go on a rant initially about, what that could imply. So Marguerite Porete was a Beguine, which is a type of nun, and if you get into it, there are many different types of nuns based on the specific practice of Catholicism, and there are many branches of Catholicism, just like there are many branches of Christianity. I believe the Beguinage? Sounds like a baguette. Were essentially almost radicalized femininity. For the time, it was like 1100 AD, and it was... They were in this convent, but they were able to produce their own works, their own means of labor, and support themselves economically without being looked over. And then... I believe it was actually this book. It could have been something else. I'm not sure. But the French king was like, "You're kind of unruly and you're fucking shit up for me." So they were granted, or the Dominican priesthood was granted, I don't know another word for this, and I've been using it too much recently, but conservatorship over the Béguinage. So these nuns would be looked after by some Dominican priests who, I guess, in and of themselves were more liberal with their views, so it wasn't like horrible. But yeah, that's the history of it. Anyways, Holy Church could reference the Catholic faith under the Pope. In the Bible, there is, I believe it's in the Old Testament, I don't have a perfect memory, but there is a verse that says, where two or more are gathered, so there too shall I be, and that was in reference to whether a temple needed to be made. But there's another verse that says, I reside in you, you are the temple, so treat your body like a temple. And then that is in modern day convoluted when you get to Jesus. I don't know if it was Jesus who said this or this was just spoken about Jesus, but essentially after Jesus dimensionally hopped around and then went back up to heaven, it was said that Jesus would descend, and that is when the bride would be taken up with Jesus or something like that, and the bride is said to be the church. So this reference could be that reference of just, you are not only the followers of Jesus, but you are the promise to Jesus, and Jesus owns you. Because, I mean, it's 1100 AD, and what was a bride back then but property? Boop, boop, ba-doop, boop. I have made this book for you so that you might hear, in order to be more worthy of the perfection of life and the being of peace to which the creature is able to arrive through the virtue of perfect charity, the gift given by the whole Trinity, which gift you will hear explained in this book through the intellect of love and following the questions of reason. So, we suck. This book was written because we're unworthy. The swine that we are. And that could be in reference to the original sin, which is another convoluted topic in the church. Whether the original sin be that of having been born at all, i.e. the flesh, or if the original sin was the eating of the apple. God saying, hey, don't do that, and humanity saying, no, we're going to do that. Sounds fun. And therein, the original sin, the curse for the original sin given by God, was that women would have periods and bleed monthly, and it would be painful, and childbirth would be very, very, very painful. That's supposed to be the original sin, but some Catholic sects of the church have understood that original sin is literally just being born human. At which point, weird, because why would your creator create something that you have to pay for? I thought your creator was perfect, but whatever. Okay, so it also says, being of peace to which the creator is able to arrive. Oh, I apologize. To which the creature, I think the creature is us. Fine. Is able to arrive through the virtue of perfect charity, the gift given by the whole Trinity. So perfect charity is the gift given by whole Trinity, which is in reference to old Babylonian mythology. And there, in Babylonian mythology, there is a figurehead of three gods, both in the light and in the dark, to keep balance between things. And the Trinity was a means of referencing that. Side quest for anyone that thinks it's fun. Let's see if I can find that book readily. Doodly doo doo. This book is good. So, this book, Myths of Babylon, general editor Jake Jackson, and it just says Jake Jackson on the cover, and I could open it up, but I need more hands. It's good, and that's what I am paying homage to or referencing when I talk about Babylonian, Assyrian, and Sumerian mythology. If anyone has any references for me likewise, I will take them, because it's an interest of mine. Boop. So this book is a gift. Which gift you will hear explained in this book through the intellect of love and following the questions of reason. And if you go back and watch, and I don't know why you would, but thank you if you do, the prologue video, you will understand that she told us not to use reason or wisdom. And again, we generally just suck. So this is a confusing message. Do what we were told not to do. Very much like the church, though. Go sin and come back so that I have a job in forgiving you of your sin. Chapter 3. Here love speaks of the commandments of the Holy Church. So this is from the entity love. Therefore we shall begin, says love, with the commandments of the Holy Church, so that each might be able to take his nourishment in this book with the aid of God, who commands that we love him with all our heart, all our soul, and all our strength, and ourselves as we ought, and our neighbors as ourselves. I'm going to edit that out. Note to me. First, that we love him with all our heart. That means that our thoughts should be always truly in him. How do our thoughts equate to our love? If love is an emotion, I am not perfectly always thinking about the emotion that I am feeling. Maybe some people do. I have met people that label everything in the room when they walk into a room, like in their head, which I find strange. And I don't mean just like in any room, just as they're looking, they're kind of computing data by labeling it. It's wild. I think it's wild. Sorry, I don't mean to, shit on that. Everybody thinks differently, though, and there are studies that have come to find out that, there are also different applicable means of imagination. So some people have the ability to imagine a whole image in their brain, and like if I say apple, you can see the red apple, you can even see water dew, any of that. You can see someone taking a bite out of it like it's a movie. That level of imagination. There are some people that don't see any imagery at all. There are some people that only think in words. There are some people that only think in sensations. And as someone with ADHD, I cannot fathom the people that have brevity, don't have thoughts going all the time. That's wild to me. So yeah, I don't know if that's feasible. Also, give reference to this being 1100 AD. If you do read Myths of Babylon... No, wait. Sorry, it's not that book. It's another book I'm reading. Though I do think Myths of Babylon hints at it a few times. Drugs have been used throughout the world and throughout history, human history. And so even, before Christ, loads of hallucinogens were used. And I say this because I was about to say that we have a lot of mental health disorders on the premise of the FDA clearing a lot of chemicals in our food and especially in our medicine. And like... the boomer generation was largely tested on with ADHD, ADD meds, which psychologically you can hand down traits if the chemicals are felt strongly enough or, produced enough times habitually in a human brain. So to say that your thoughts always are on God, and that is your love for God, is to be out of understanding for the incredible, intense differences in types of thoughts and how much thought is produced and the chemicals that are now produced in people's versus 1,000 years ago versus 4,000 years ago. Wildly different times. So, don't know if it's always viable, and I don't think that's how you love people. I think that's actually obsession. I don't think that's love. That's obsession. Now that I got the word for it. I could have cut that whole rant down, but I didn't. And with all our soul, sorry, this is the next sentence. And with all our soul, that means that until death we do not speak but the truth. So our soul is presumably so pure that it cannot tell a lie. Who's that president? I cannot tell a lie. Well, he lied a lot, so he's a liar. Any president lied a lot. You don't even need proof for that. You don't get to a position of power without having someone have something on you. You don't get to a position of power without being able to be checked for that power. And with all our strength, that is, that we accomplish all our works purely for Him. So we love Him with all of our strength. So strength equates to doing things. And ourselves as we ought. That means that in doing this, we do not give attention to our gain, but the perfect will of God. Yeah, that's good. And our neighbors as ourselves. That is, that we neither do nor think nor speak toward our neighbors anything we would not wish they do toward us. Which is bullshit. And I did a better rant on it the first time, but I'll try the second time. Generally, I have the same rant. For this all the time. There are too many people in this world with too many subjective lives due to too many subjective experiences, wisdom gained, and what made their person, how their ego was crafted, the means by which they survive. For anyone to assume that only good could come of people treating others the way they want to be treated themselves. Some people have not misunderstood, but have misinterpreted pain for pleasure. It's the same receptor in your brain. Some people hate themselves a lot. And some people have a whole defense mechanism set up around the ideation that other people hate them and will always hate them and they are worthless. Narcissism. So, I do not think that it is viable, nor reasonable, nor logical, nor intelligent to treat other people the way you want to be treated. It's a golden rule you're taught in kindergarten or as a young child, but I don't think it's logical at all. These commands are of necessity for salvation for all. Nobody can have grace with a lesser way. So everything that is not this way is obviously less than, which is again negging everyone because we are unworthy creatures. And salvation from what? I know, teaches hell, but then, I think hell was created on the understanding that the original sin wasn't enough to get people to stop being shitheads, so they needed a worse place. And, fun story, hell was created off the historical happenstance of what one city did to get rid of the people they couldn't take care of. leprosy as punishment. Anybody that was unruly, mentally ill, whatever it was, they threw them over the city walls into these pits. And that's where you get the extreme depiction of smelling like sulfur and gnashing of teeth. It was just these people rotting outside of the city walls. Note here the example of the rich young man who said to Jesus Christ that he had kept these since infancy. And Jesus Christ said to him, "One thing is necessary for you to do if you want to be perfect. It is, go and sell all the things which you possess and give them to the poor, and then follow me, and you will have treasure in the heavens. This is the counsel of the complete perfection of the virtues, and whoever keeps them will live in true charity." It's very Buddhist. So another thing that Christianity has a tendency to do, especially any author that is referencing Christianity, any branch of Christianity, is to take things out of context and apply it to the entirety of civilization as though it wasn't meant for one person, or that the individual reading the Bible themselves, that it wasn't meant simply for them in that moment and no one else. Cool message, good message, especially if you, in your own practices and your own understanding of yourself, feel the need to, lessen your unhealthy ego by building into being a very giving individual and understanding that your person is not built on any physical attainment that, you can acquire. Cool. Good lesson. That doesn't mean that everybody needs that lesson. That is not, giving a way out for people that go, see, not me. But it's the way of minimalism is helpful, and everybody should probably practice it and understand it and learn to love it and be giving and charitable, and these are all good things. However, in a society and not a community where everything is already really unhealthy, being entirely selfless puts you in a position of being entirely selfish. Ironically. Because if you are not your own advocate, and you continue to give, and people continue to take because they are unhealthy, religion teaches you that God will take care of everything. And some religion teaches you that by means outside of yourself, God still takes care of you. But there is a point of being responsible over yourself and your own actions, and understanding that if you get rid of everything, there are still things that you need, and you will have to get those things from the people around you. And you are lucky if you have people around you, and you are even luckier if those people around you have a surplus of things. But that is only being lucky, and that is only through their kindness, which you are testing. There is a point of needing self-responsibility, needing to stand on your own, and a level of selfishness is needed for that. So I don't agree that it is godly to forever be charitable and give everything you have away. I just think that there's a balance needed to understand that who you are as a person is not because of the things that you have. And giving things away will not detract from who you are. Chapter 4, the noble virtue of charity and how she obeys none other than love. Also, charity is capitalized, so introducing a new character into the story as an entity unto itself again. Love. Charity obeys no created thing except love. Charity possesses nothing of her own, and should she possess something, she does not say that it belongs to her. Charity abandons her own need and attends to that of others. Charity asks no payment from any creature for some good or pleasure that she has accomplished. So this is indicative of what one could consider altruism. However, it's modern day terminology to say it's to reference being black-pilled, in that altruism doesn't exist, because to receive, or the theory, the thought of altruism not existing, is that to receive a good feeling from doing something good or positive is to receive something at all. And therein it was not done out of the absolute goodness of your heart. It was done with the understanding that you would still be receiving something. Which is where I was raised non-denominational, and so I don't know if other churches do it, but non-denominational, certain churches within that belief teach that it is truly only godly if you do not see the outcome. If you follow what you are supposed to do and you walk away. Don't know, what that means or why I said it currently or the relevance, but that's a rant. You can have it. Sorry, Maui. I have a cat. His name is Maui. He's a good boy, and he does not like sharp sounds like that. Charity has no shame, nor fear, nor anxiety. Well, what? What? Talk about lack of relevance. Where's this coming from? She is so upright that she cannot bow on account of anything that might happen to her. That has to be bow. That cannot be bow. She is so upright that she cannot bow on account of anything that might happen to her. No, it would not make sense to say bow there. It has to be bow. This could be the Beguinage nun, being able to stand on your own 2 feet as a woman during a time in which you would have been property. Okay. If you were to be a giving person, and you felt ashamed of giving, or you felt afraid of giving, or you were anxious because you gave, that would immediately negate the act of giving something. If you were to give something and have regrets about giving it, I personally do not believe you had it in the first place to give away. If it is something you need, and you cannot afford to lose it, then you cannot afford to give it away. And it becomes a debt onto the other person to pay you back, even if that is in ego, because you have given out of fear. Now you need something by which can surplus that, can replace it, so that you can survive comfortably, to feed your ego, thus creating a perpetual charity case. So I do agree with that. But I do not understand she is so upright that she cannot bow. Isn't that a bad thing? To be too upright to give way to when something is more grand, greater than in hierarchical status, deserves your servitude or your understanding, or even in just being gracious to another person's existence. Isn't not bowing a bad thing? I guess that's where the lack of shame comes in. Sorry, that was maybe a bad joke. I'm not sure. Charity neither makes nor takes account of anything under the sun. What? For the whole world is only refuse and leftovers. How did we go from life is perfect and you are not yet good enough to have this perfect life, to everything is refuse and leftovers. That seems bad. That's mixed messaging. I don't like that. If God created the world, and, whatever, Satan's given dominion, sure. However, God created Satan. God still created the world, and God created you. Why is it all bad now? If God is supposed to be perfect, and God is supposed to love his creation, are you saying God doesn't love what God created? Sounds very childish. Very imperfect. So if God is this omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient being, then everything that exists is a part of God. So it would stand to reason that God would have to love itself. And therein, Satan having dominion over the world, Satan existing at all, and humanity sinning and humanity existing at all would be loved, as all would be a part of God, as God is omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent. And the only way to be all of these things is to be everything, which give reference to the Bible again. Moses says, God, who do I tell them sent me? And God responds, tell them I am. So, I'm a mess. The computer died, I didn't have it on the charging cord, and then I took an intermission and decided to get hot chocolate, and then I came back and started a video and realized I wasn't holding the microphone again. I can just hold it like a ball. I'm doing that. Fuck yeah. Okay. This is my magical ball. Because I talk into it. Ow. Alright, so the rant was in regard to blurry. God. Oops. Oh, okay, so Genesis said, I am sent you, which is supposed to give reference to God being eternal, infinite, all of that jazz. And again, infinite literally means everything. So, Christianity logic denotes that everything that is a sin essentially isn't, because it's God and God is perfect, and Christian logic crosses itself all the time. All the time. All the time. So we're at Charity. I'm on chapter 4. Charity has no shame, no fear, nor anxiety. Charity neither makes nor takes account of anything under the sun, for the whole world is only refuse and leftovers. Charity gives to all what she possesses of worth, without retaining anything for herself, and with this she often promises that she does not possess through her great largesse, in the hope that the more she gives, the more remains in her. That's what she said. I guess that would be, the understanding that God provides, and if you are doing what is godly, God all the more will have a better relationship with you, and therein God will provide more for you, on the supposition that you've made yourself more relevant to God. More important to God. Again, if God is everything, wouldn't God want to provide for itself anyways? Like, essentially, I understand it to be like a body. So, if the consciousness is God, which has been theorized by different philosophers more than just myself. So the consciousness is God, and anything else is what comprises God. So like red blood cells, white blood cells, oxygen, the chemicals in the brain, neurons, neuroreceptors, blood flowing through the veins, the micro, I was going to say economy, that's not right, but the whole system being created of all of its own cells, each cell onto every single atom is God. And it all has to work together perfectly to coalesce into this being that then thinks of itself as something akin to more than an animal. So just above an animal, just under God. And that is humanity. But humanity is made in God's image, and that is what makes me think that, God has to be consciousness, and we're all just the body parts, essentially. Then I do not understand this hierarchy of charity needs nothing and by giving everything away, because again, God would want each blood cell to be healthy. God would want the right chemical at the right time and the wrong chemical never, a proper communication through each entity onto every existence. I would assume that is what God would want. Not, everything in existence not wanting anything and not having anything and not being provided for to the extent that it needs, just, getting what you need instead. I also have no idea what largesse means, and I could look that up, but I just don't want to. I'll do it later. Charity is such a wise merchant. How can she sell things if she's giving them away? That she earns profits everywhere where others lose. Wow! Given the reference to DID, I just think Marguerite got a lot of piss taken out of her for existing, and her ideation of calling everything an entity onto itself is a means of, dividing her own understanding of herself and forgiving herself for what other people took away from her and making it holy so they can't take it away from her, and then hoping to live up to it. And she escapes the bonds that bind others, and thus she has great multiplicity of what pleases love, and love apparently is separated from God. And note that the one who would have perfect charity must be mortified in the actions of the life of the Spirit through the work of charity. Oh, excuse me. And note that the one who would have perfect charity must be mortified in the affections, not actions, my bad, affections of the life of the Spirit through the work of charity. I think that's a word salad. In the affections of the life of the Spirit is the part of the sentence that is just sending me through a loop. What? So in the affections of the life. In the affections of the life. So life is not capitalized. It's not an entity of itself. Affections would be what is caused by the life of the Spirit. And the Spirit exists through the work of charity. So essentially what comes about because of charity must mortify perfect charity. Someone receiving something that charity gave away mortifies her? So many mixed messages. So many. Chapter 5 of the life which is called the peace of charity in the annihilated life up. Oh, I actually should stop. I'm going to stop. Because this is already a really long video and I could sit here longer than this and continue to read. Essentially, I disagree and agree. Well, mostly, I think I disagree. So that's been chapters 2 through 4. I was right. Chapter 2 through 4. I will get on to reading chapter 5 through whichever other chapter I so design later. Goodbye. I hope you have a good night. Eat well.